Hey everybody, lots to get to at 4 o'clock. We start with this. All eyes are on the radar this afternoon as we prepare for the possibility of severe storms across Indiana, including tornadoes.
So we want to give you a look outside right now. You can see there are lots of clouds and it is the calm before the storm. We're expecting this to change overnight. The weather team has been here, active, working together to make sure that they're on top of everything. Thank you for joining us. I'm Felicia Lawrence.
I'm Dustin Grove. Let's get right to meteorologist Sean Ash, who's been tracking this, as well as the timeline on when you think this might
and that's
arrive.
key here. Look, central southern part, this is going to be a Wednesday morning situation. Of course, we have a pretty large viewing area that goes all the way up to Cass and White counties, Carroll counties. They could have a few storms here this evening. So let me get right into what's happening here. Nothing to worry about locally across the Indy metro area. We've had that mist. Despite the cloud deck, we're at 70 degrees here. We've talked about this warm front, and that will be the focal point for storm initiation here in the coming hours across northern sections of Illinois, far northwest Indiana, and a front indeed. Let me show you the difference this boundary makes. It is 41 in Chicago. It is 69 in Peru, Illinois. It is 80 degrees in Peoria. Okay, let me put the temperature contours so you can really see it. So we have a warm front, but we also have a lake breeze boundary. So that will be the trigger. This is the zone that we're going to be watching very closely over the next 2 to 3 hours. Along that front and just south of it is where the greatest tornado potential is, possibly strong tornadoes. This will include parts of our viewing area. I can't tell you exactly where these cells will develop, but I certainly cannot rule out Fowler, Delphi, Walcott, Monticello. But if they do develop a little farther to the north, then the tornadics, initial tornadic supercells, may miss that portion of our viewing area. Now, what happens? The cells eventually become a line, and it is going to be a late night. We're talking after midnight, getting into Lafayette sometime around 3 in the morning, in the metro area, 5, 6. You should be prepared for a wet and stormy morning commute. That could include some tornado warnings and severe thunderstorm warnings as well. We'll have more coming up in the 7-day forecast.
All right. I think Sean's preparing for an overnighter potentially too.
Yeah.
Even before we knew these storms were coming, there was already a statewide tornado drill scheduled for today.
And it's a regularly part of our severe weather preparedness week. Ashton Hackman is live this afternoon downtown Indianapolis near one of the many sirens that were tested. And Ashton, can you tell us how this test went?
Yeah, well, for many central Indiana counties, this test went exactly as planned. No major hiccups or hurdles, but state leaders and county officials that I talked to today really want to stress that these sirens that you see all over the state, those are not supposed to be your primary source of getting weather alert and weather information. They say the two best ways to get those alerts: one, a weather radio that's always plugged in, and two, this, your cell phone. Those are the best ways, obviously plugged in, charged, and ready to go for tonight. Now, the statewide drill this morning, as I mentioned, went perfect, just as planned. Those sirens and emergency alert system notifications were activated statewide only as a test. Now, Marion County Emergency Management tells me their systems did not show any issues, neither did surrounding counties. I did hear from EMA directors in Cass and Monroe counties. Both reported at least one or several sirens not activating properly. In the meantime, the Indiana Department of Homeland Security is on standby for tonight's storms. They will be monitoring the conditions from their Emergency Operations Center.
Tonight, we're bringing some additional staff in. We'll be monitoring the conditions. If we need to bring more people in or activate to a much higher level, then we're ready to do that.
Indiana DHS says now is the time to talk over those severe weather plans. We mentioned having a way to get those alerts, again, not by these outdoor sirens. The best way is via a phone or a weather radio. It's also down to the simple things. Make sure you talk about your severe weather plan ahead of these storms tonight. Know where to go if a tornado warning is issued. We're talking lowest level of your home, interior rooms, away from those windows. And Dustin and Felicia, they also stressed have a plan for after the storm. So water, flashlights, and your shoes. Simple enough as that. Be prepared for tonight's storms.
Okay, it's an important conversation, especially when you have children in the home.
Yeah, good reminder.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Ashton Hackman. Also, do not get caught off guard. We want you to keep track of this incoming storm with our radar, which you can use on our website or the WTHR app. Helps you get closer, more specific to know what's going on in your neighborhood.
Super helpful. Yep. As we approach spring break and some big events coming to Indianapolis, police and city leaders announced today a plan to keep kids safe downtown.
So this plan comes on the heels of a violent weekend where people were shot and an IMPD officer was hit. Our Matthew Foltz was at today's news conference. And Matthew, what's this plan all about?
So really, it's about making sure that teens and young children stay safe this weekend. We know it's spring break, and so really officers really want to make sure that kids do not stay out past their curfew hours, which are now going to be reinforced this weekend. So under this new curfew again, kids aged 15 through 17 may not be out in public without a parent on the weekends between 1 a.m. and 5 a.m. They cannot be out past 11 p.m. Sunday through Thursday, and then children under the age of 15 cannot be out past 11 p.m. through 5 a.m. any day of the week. Now, IMPD Chief Tanya Terry says that their goal is really to just make sure everyone stays safe, especially coming off a violent weekend we saw here in downtown Indy.
If you're going to come downtown or any other part of our city and commit crimes, IMPD will hold you accountable. And then we expect other members of our community and our criminal justice system to do the same.
Now, the city is also opening up a connection center. This is something they did last summer as well. And this will be where they'll bring teens who are out past curfew and give them resources and really an intervention. So this new plan does go into effect this weekend, starting this Friday. And then right now, they're also urging parents to really step up, know where your child are. And coming up at 5 o'clock, you'll hear more from some of the volunteers who really say this is an impactful plan.
Yeah. They really emphasize the point that parents, you got to know where your kids are. That's the primary connection point, and then everybody else comes in to support.
Because you don't want to prosecute children, but when you're talking about safety, I mean, that certainly is an important conversation that you want all parties involved, to your point.
Yep.
Right.
We'll look forward to more coming up at 5 and 6. Thanks,
good.
Matthew. Today, the conflict with Iran entered its 11th day. Iran targeted regional oil infrastructure and pledged to choke off sea trade. And this has left markets here in the U.S. on edge. Meantime, U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth promised the most intense strikes yet in this conflict.
And as Brian Abel shows us, both the U.S. and Iran traded new threats.
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said Tuesday would be the most intense day of strikes inside Iran. And President Trump has threatened to escalate further, saying Iran would be hit 20 times harder if it blocked the flow of oil through the Strait of Hormuz. A senior Iranian official threatened Trump in response, posting that Trump should watch out so as not to get eliminated. And Trump told Fox News he doesn't believe Iran's new supreme leader, Ayatollah Mujtaba Khamenei, can live in peace, though it's unclear exactly what he meant. Meanwhile, President Trump Monday told CBS, "I think the war is very complete, pretty much." Just hours later, though, he'd tell Florida Republicans, "We haven't won enough." The comments did little to clarify a timeline or the progress toward America's goals in the conflict. Adding to the confusion, at about the same time Trump was calling the war complete, the Department of Defense posted on X, "We have only just begun to fight." Now, all of this back and forth as the death toll rises to more than 1,200 civilians killed in Iran and more than 450 in Lebanon since the start of the war, according to the UN and a nonprofit organization, while world leaders are becoming increasingly concerned about the growing economic cost with oil prices soaring. In Washington, Brian Abel reporting.
All right, so we've talked a lot about the Strait of Hormuz. So let's take a minute to explain more about what that is and what it has to do with gas prices. Gas prices are set in large part by the price of oil, as you know, and a fifth of the world's oil, 20%, has to travel right there through that tiny Strait of Hormuz. So if that's cut off, that's a whole lot of oil that's not getting through. And even the possibility of that route being delayed or blocked can push global oil prices higher. When the price of oil goes up, refineries pay more, gas stations pay more, and drivers end up paying more. The price per barrel did come down today to about $80, but that's still higher than what it was before this conflict began.